Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prodigy channel. And in this video, I'm going to give you my starts of the week for week 4 of the 2022 fantasy football season. All right, let's get right into it, guys. It is Saturday, October 1st at about 7:30 p.m. as of this recording. Just in case news breaks after I record this video, that could obviously change what I think about a player. But we're going to get into the starts of the week now for week 4. And we're going to start with the quarterback position. My one quarterback start is going to be Marcus Mariota of the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you to start a guy like Josh Allen. I'm trying to find guys that maybe might be under the radar or have a good matchup or people don't think of, or just someone that I like a little bit more than usual on a given week. So Marcus Mariota kind of fits that description this week. I feel like he might be a little bit slept on just because he was drafted number 2 overall and things didn't really pan out in Tennessee. He got the starting opportunity this season with the Falcons, and he's been pretty solid for fantasy. And what I like about Mariota is that he does use his legs. 72 rushing yards and a touchdown in week 1. 6 attempts in week 2 didn't result in a lot of rushing production, but he still had 2 passing touchdowns, which is pretty solid. And then in week 3, not a lot of rushing yards, but he was able to run into the end zone. So when you start a quarterback that can use his legs, has the ability to run in a touchdown, that is always a nice little bonus. And he has some weapons with Drake London and Kyle Pitts. And in week 4 against the Cleveland Browns, I think he can exploit that matchup. So obviously I don't like him as like a top 5 option, but sort of as someone you can play. Maybe if your regular starter is injured, say you have Dak Prescott, you need someone to fill in. I think Mariota could do that for you. Or if you're in a 2 quarterback league, I think Mariota could be a solid second quarterback or super flex in a league like that. All right, now we're going to move on to the running back position, where I'm going to bring up a couple guys who normally you probably wouldn't start, but this week I think they are basically must-start options. We're going to start with Khalil Herbert, running back of the Chicago Bears. David Montgomery has been ruled out for week 4, the regular starting running back for the Bears. So that means Khalil Herbert gets the start in week 4 against the Giants. And that is juicy for fantasy. Last week in week 3, I made David Montgomery one of my running back starts of the week. And what happened? He got injured very early in the game and was not able to return. What did Khalil Herbert do? He entered the game. He put up 20 for 157 on the ground, caught a couple passes for 12 yards, had nearly 30 fantasy points in half PPR. Whenever he's gotten some time on the field, when he gets the ball in his hands, Khalil Herbert has proven that he is a good player. Okay, so this is not a situation where the backup running back is just a no-name whatever. They'll get volume. I think Khalil Herbert is actually a talented player, and with David Montgomery out, he should be a lock for very, very solid volume. In week 4 against the Giants, this is a matchup that he can exploit. I don't think the Giants are going to be stopping the Bears on the ground. And the Giants, I think this will be a close game with them. You know, the Bears and the Giants, I don't really expect one team to blow the other out. So I think Khalil Herbert, his workload on the ground will be secure. So he is pretty much a running back with running back 1 upside. And if things go well for him, he could be a week winning type of start that you probably got off the waiver wire or had on your bench as a handcuff. And my next running back start of the week is a guy in a similar situation to Khalil Herbert. That's going to be Jamaal Williams, running back of the Detroit Lions. This is another case, just like Herbert, where the starting running back is going to be out with an injury. DeAndre Swift has been ruled out for this game in week 4 against the Seattle Seahawks. The Lions, will also be without DJ Chark and Amon-Ra St. Brown, their top 2 receiving options. So there is a little bit of concern that with all these missing weapons, the Lions offense just won't be able to move the ball. But I'm still going to bring up Jamaal Williams just because of this new opportunity that he is seeing, because he will be the starting running back in week 4 against the Seahawks. That's a matchup that they should be able to exploit as long as the offense isn't too hampered by the players that they're missing. If it's a competitive game, he should see solid volume. And last week in week 3, DeAndre Swift left early. He was 20 for 87 on the ground, and he had 2 rushing touchdowns. He should be the clear goal line running back. He is able to catch some passes in the passing game. Hasn't had too many targets this season, but he does have that ability. And even in weeks 1 and 2 with DeAndre Swift in the lineup, he did have some solid games for fantasy. 11 and 12 attempts through week 1 and 2. He got a couple rushing touchdowns in week 1. So he's a talented player. And now he has this starting opportunity in a pretty good matchup. So just like Khalil Herbert, this is a guy that you probably got off the waiver wire or just had on your bench. And all of a sudden, he is a start-worthy player, especially if you're dealing with an injury of some sort. And if things go right for him, just like Herbert, he could have a week-winning type of performance. Now we'll move to the wide receiver position. The first one is going to be Mike Williams, wide receiver of the LA Chargers. He's had an up and down season, and honestly, that's just kind of the player that he is. He has boom weeks, he has bust weeks, but in week 4, he gets a good matchup with the Houston Texans. I think the Chargers will be able to put points up on them. And also, Keenan Allen has already been ruled out for this game, fellow wide receiver for the Chargers. So Mike Williams has an opportunity to get loose in this one, make some big plays. It's always risky with Mike Williams, but he's the type of guy you put in your lineup every week, and you take your lumps when he doesn't have a great week, because when he goes off, you do not want him on your bench. I have had that happen to me, and it's not a good feeling. So he's shown big game ability. Week 2, 21.3 points against the Chiefs. Week 1 and 3, not so much. Luckily, he only had 1 catch last week, but luckily went for a touchdown. So week 4, I'm leaning towards this being a good Mike Williams week. My next wide receiver start of the week is going to be Gabe Davis of the Buffalo Bills. Here is a little injury report on him. He is currently questionable for week 4, so monitor his status going into that game against the Baltimore Ravens, because if it comes out that he's going to be limited or anything like that, then he becomes a little bit less of a good play, because the Bills do have Stephon Diggs. He's their wide receiver 1. He's pretty much a guarantee for targets. So they don't necessarily need to rely on Gabe Davis, especially the way that the Bills have been playing. They can win most games just relying on Josh Allen to kind of carry. But if Gabe Davis is good to go, I think week 4 against Baltimore, he can exploit that matchup. He was he had a lot of question marks around him coming into the season, around the draft season. Some people were in love with him. Some people didn't want to touch him. Well, week 1, he went 4 for 88, missed week 2. He had an okay game in week 3. I believe he did drop a touchdown. Week 4 against Baltimore, long story short, the Bills have a good offense. And I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game, because the Ravens also have a good offense. And Gabe Davis, I just think he's a good player. And I think this is a bounce back week for Gabe Davis, if he is healthy and ready to go. And my tight end start of the week is going to be David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns. Listen, guys, I'm trying to give you some more low-key guys. I'm not going to tell you to start, Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews. Those guys are auto starts each and every week. That wouldn't be very good advice, because obviously you start those guys no matter what. So I'm going to try to give you someone that is sort of someone you might have been able to get off the waiver wire. And that's going to be David Njoku. He got a big contract. Weeks 1 and 2 weren't great for fantasy. But in week 3 against Pittsburgh, he went 9 for 89, had a touchdown. Week 4, he gets the Falcons. I think in that matchup, he could definitely put up some fantasy production. I said I like Marcus Mariota. If he hits, the Falcons should be putting up points. Hopefully the Browns could put up some points. Either way, the tight end position is disgusting each and every year. I feel like every year we head into the season thinking, oh, this year it's going to be different. There's all these sleepers, all these, low-key guys that are going to break out. And I feel like it just never happens. You just have a couple guys that are good, and everyone else is just kind of, you're praying for a touchdown. What I like about Njoku is he's coming off a good game. I kind of like this matchup against the Falcons, and he showed the ability to have a big game for fantasy. There's a lot of tight ends that just physically can't do it. Whereas Njoku, 9 for 89 and a touchdown, if you get that from your tight end, I mean, that's all you can ask for. So, it's far from a guarantee that any tight end is ever going to do anything. This level of tight end, they could goose and have 0 points. But as far as this level of tight end, I think Njoku is a solid play if you don't have one of those guys like Travis Kelce. All right, those were all my starts of the week for week 4. And now we're going to recap our week 3 starts to see what went well and what went not so well. So my 2 quarterback starts were Kirk Cousins and Matt Stafford. Kirk Cousins was the quarterback 9 overall, 18.3 fantasy points. Luckily, he had that touchdown late against the Detroit Lions. That definitely helped him out. And then Matthew Stafford against the Cardinals had a disappointing week. Bad call by me, I guess. 10.16 points. It looks like he got outscored by Baker, Cooper Rush, Daniel Jones. That's definitely not what you want. So my bad on that one. I guess I'm not perfect. But week 4, we are going to be perfect. Moving on to the running back position. Another disappointing call. Miles Sanders. A lot of people were high on him. He's gotten the volume. He did get a rushing touchdown in week 1. But I feel like those are going to be hard to come by. in the Philadelphia offense, just with, Jalen Hurts able to run and all the weapons they have there. And it was a good matchup against Washington. He did see the volume, but it only turned into 15 for 46. He wasn't really used in the passing game, and the one catch he had, it went for -2. So only 4.9 points in half PPR. My other running back starts of the week were Leonard Fournette. Where'd he go? Here. Leonard Fournette. There we go. Not a great week. They were missing so many weapons. I thought he would do more. He did see 6 targets and caught 5 of them. Only resulted in 35 yards. 12 for 35 on the ground. No touchdown. So 9.5 points. You were probably starting Fournette anyways. I just expected him to have a bigger week than he did, but it wasn't a week killing type of week. My other start was Dalvin Cook. He had a slow start to the season, so that's why I felt it was justified to include him in a good matchup with Detroit. And he was a borderline running back 1, and he did leave that game early. So if he didn't get hurt, he probably would have been a running back 1 in his time in the game. 17 for 96, got in the end zone, and he lost a fumble. So that was a good call. And then David Montgomery. Listen, he left the game very early. I'm going to count this as a good call because the backup came in and he went off. Khalil Herbert, my start of the week for this week with Montgomery out. Yeah, he had 3 carries for 11 yards and he got knocked out for the game. So we can never predict an injury like that. That's just unfortunate, but I think the logic was right with that one because we saw the backup come in and kind of go off. I wasn't really sure about who to call at wide receiver last week because a lot of the guys those top tier guys, they just felt too obvious. And there were a lot of lower tier guys that I didn't love. So I went with, not Michael Pittman, Michael Thomas. And the fact that I have to load more tells you how bad of a call that was. Michael Thomas, yeah, wide receiver 52. I mean, 5 for 49, 7.4 points in half PPR. 5 for 49. Listen, wide receivers are inconsistent. I brought him up just because I want to remind people that he's back for fantasy. And then he goes out and does that. So not my best call, but it is what it is. And then apparently we had a pretty rough week because Irv Smith was my tight end start of the week. Again, I try to give you some people you can maybe get off the waiver wire. Someone to throw in the lineup if you don't have one of those top guys. Irv Smith came out, saw 6 targets, which was pretty decent, but it only turned into 2 for 32. So not the greatest week, but we're going to turn things around in week 4. Definitely. And that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Talk to you guys later. Peace out.